Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Coast College Football Pregame Tailgate Show. Week number 10. We're flying through the season. It's going too fast. I wish it would slow
So
down.
fast.
So fast. I have one host today, as you noticed. There's somebody obviously missing. My Buckeye brother from another mother and Miss August Simpson are officially on baby watch. So we are hoping we get word at any time during the show that baby Simpson gets delivered. But if not, we'll still be pulling for him when the show's after the show, obviously. But to be honest, the baby should be born during the show. If not, Cottrell should be here. Just kidding. But holding it down for me today, my West Coast man, Mr. Pac-12, Mr. New Big Ten, Mr. Oregon, Mr. EyeBlack, Mr. Alex Elmore. How are you, sir?
I'm good. EyeBlack is black. My skin is cleared up. We're good. No one talks about what this does to your skin every single week, okay? But no, it's good to be back. Obviously, wish Cottrell was here. Though it is going to be a nice, relaxing show without an Ohio State fan just yapping the whole time. So it's going to be enjoyable. I think we're going to have a great show. Maybe we even don't even bring Cottrell back. Who knows? I'm just kidding. But no, we have lots of stuff to jump into today. We're going to talk about this week in news, take a look at the latest top 25 poll. Bill and I are going to give out our pick for the best or top 5 coaching jobs in the country, available or not. And then we're also going to go over our picks for the college football playoff poll that comes out later this upcoming week. So we got lots of stuff to talk about, recaps, previews. It's a bonkers show, so I'm excited to get into it.
We do a lot to go through, so it is a jam-packed show. I am, obviously sad that Cottrell's not here for this one, but like Alex said, we're gonna go over a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff to jam-pack in these next 2 hours, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll start with the top. We'll start with Hardwire as always, and then
Wrong show, fool.
Wrong show. You're right. My fault. I'm sorry.
Okay, I forgive you.
It is early, but no, we'll start breaking the huddle, and then we'll get into everything else. It's funny this week. If you would have looked at the beginning of the season, this week was probably would have been the best week of college games that you would have saw on the slate this year. But preseason rankings, they just don't mean anything. Like 7 of the 10 teams that have been playing today that are ranked aren't even ranked anymore. But we're gonna get into all that. As the show naturally progresses here. So, Alex, as always, sir, get us started.
You got it.
Shotgun, DC right, flip 90, dig, on the center, ready?
All right, well, we're going to jump right into the news, break the huddle weekly. We do this segment weekly, going over all the top news from this week in college football. Not too crazy of a news week. We're going to start off with some interesting news, though. The national championship game is officially going to be held in Tampa Bay in the year 2029. This will be the second time Tampa Bay hosts the event, the first time since 2017 when Clemson defeated Alabama 35-31. Now, obviously, Bill, Tampa Bay hosting the national championship, not that crazy news, but it got me thinking. If you could have the national championship anywhere in the country, where would you want to have it? Even just for 1 year, where would you like to see it played?
That's a good question. I don't know. I will be honest. I don't want to say I get annoyed, but it is like it's frustrating that it's like they pretty much revolving around 5 cities. Like it's either, it's either Miami or Tampa in Florida, New Orleans, Dallas, Vegas, and then
or LA.
LA or Arizona. So it's like it sucks like everything out west or out south gets it. I do hope with all these new, NFL stadiums that are being built with, retractable roofs or domes, that you do start seeing more and more of them, up north. Because I think there's plenty of cities that could host the national championship and be a colder climate, but have everything inside and it'd be fine. So I don't know. I always think like again, like if you've an SEC team in it, I think when it's down south, it's a big advantage for them. But I think it also depends on how your school travels. So um, I think it really depends on the circumstances and the teams. But again, I would love to see something. I think if Chicago built a dome stadium, I think Chicago's a great city. I love visiting that stadium or that city. It's a great city. It's cold as hell, but they obviously have the infrastructure and the hotels and the food and everything that matters for the people visiting. I know there's a lot of rumors that Philly is trying to build a new stadium and they're going to put a dome on there, so or a retractable roof, mind you. So I mean, I would love to see it here, selfishly, but I think there's a lot of great cities that don't have the opportunity to host it simply because they don't want to run the risk of having the national championship game played in inclement weather. So again, I hope as the next 10 years, I hope that changes.
Hey, Cottrell, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Glad you're able to check in from the hospital. Um, I think they should do it Division 2/Division 3 style. Outdoors, cold weather, snow on the ground. Let's just have the national championship in Ann Arbor, Bill. Let's just go to Ann Arbor in early February, late January. And
Bro, it ain't gonna bother me. It ain't gonna bother me. It ain't gonna bother my team. But you get those Texas or Florida boys, up there that aren't used to it. People will be bitching. Because I mean, I agree. I mean, how many years have we watched the Division 2 or Division 3 championship on a frozen field or there's snow on the field?
I think it was snowing last year during
Yeah,
in the Division 2 game.
yeah. So I mean, I'm all for it. I just know the powers to be that control all the money and control the TV are never going to let it happen. So, I just think, like I said, I mean, when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, they played in Minnesota, and I know so many people that went and had never been there, and they were like, Minnesota is gorgeous, like it's incredible. It was cold, but they were like, it was a great city. Everybody was so nice. Like I never would have went there if it wasn't for the Super Bowl. Like I think there's a bunch of cities like that if they had the ability to host, would I think it would be cool to spread it around. Like what I mean, like don't get me wrong. I like if I have to go to like a Michigan championship game in February down in Scottsdale where it's like 65 degrees, I'm not going to be mad. But at the same time, it's like these people get it like every 5 years. Like they're spoiled.
Yeah.
Like it should go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like so that's my take. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like the 49ers who are hosting this year's Super Bowl and next year's Super Bowl, I feel like this is like the third time Levi Stadium has had it in like the last 15 years. I definitely feel like I feel like across all sports, I feel like NBA and obviously Major League Baseball, they do it right where it's home and home. But again, that makes it a little easier. Basketball is indoor, baseball is a summer sport. Obviously, they're playing in Toronto tonight or last night, but that's indoor and with a retractable roof. So obviously, they have the ability
to be honest, though, like if Toronto, if it wasn't like if it was the Phillies or the Yankees or something, like they'd be playing in 35-degree weather tonight. Like that's what they'd be doing. So I get it, man. And I just but at the same time, like you could play baseball in cold weather, like where the majority of the time you're not moving. Like you tell me football players can't play to like a peak level. Like they're gonna do it. I mean, how many of the games last year for the like when we were on campus, like how many of those games were cold?
Oh yeah, I mean, what was it? The freaking Ohio State game was
Ohio State, Notre Dame, Indiana had to be cold. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like so, like what are we really doing?
Yeah,
not to mention if we're being honest, like if you did put it somewhere like the Big House or Ohio State or somewhere like that, you're giving more people an opportunity to go because the stadiums hold more people. Like
That's a
Tampa
good
Bay,
point.
like Tampa Bay, what does that stadium hold? Probably like 50, 55,000?
Something like that. I think it was like in the 60s, but it was a pretty low
Okay.
number.
Yeah, and then you take the corporate tickets away, which are easily 10 grand. So you have 50, and you got to split it up between two schools. So you're like talking like 25, thirty
Oh,
thousand people. You know what I mean?
actually,
Like,
Raymond James Stadium hosts 65,000 seats, but can be expanded to 75,000. So
uh,
decently sized, but
I
your
think
point still stands.
I think they have to take the ship out to do that.
I think so too.
But
Don't take the ship
still,
out. That's the best part of the stadium.
no, I know. But again, like if you put it in Michigan or Penn State or Ohio State, there's another 30,000 people that can go to that game.
True. Yeah, I mean,
So
definitely couldn't have Oregon host it. Oregon's can only seat 56,000. So there's certain venues that shouldn't be able to host it, but there are also certain mecca stadiums that are meccas that are on the list of like top 10 biggest stadiums in the world, like Ann Arbor is. That needs to be recognized and should be. I think it should host. Whether efficient or not, I feel like they should mix it up a little bit. But obviously, they do not care what we think, Bill. So
they do not, because we
they do
we do
not.
not we do not control the money. They do not care what we think.
Exactly. But we're going to jump over to the next topic. This one could spark a little bit of debate, but we're going to take a look at this week's top 25 poll. Obviously, this upcoming week that the college football playoff poll comes out, right, Bill? The first week of November.
I believe Tuesday night at 7 o'clock will be the college football playoff reveal ranking.
Heck yeah, I'm ready for that. But in the meantime, we are stuck with the AP poll. So let's take a look at the top 25 poll. It just came out earlier this week. Obviously, you still have Ohio State, Indiana, top two in the country, obviously deservedly. Bill, anything else that kind of stand out at you when you look at the top 25 poll, whether someone's ranked too high, someone's not ranked at all?
I think the top 10, if I'm being honest, are all the right teams. I would probably flip Vandy and Georgia Tech. That's probably literally the only correction I would really make. I feel like Vandy's resume is just a little bit better than Georgia Tech's at this point. Playing, a tougher strength of schedule so far. I think the top 5 are, I think they're pretty much locked. Indiana is gaining every week on Ohio State. I'd be really curious. A lot of people think Indiana are going to be number 1 come Tuesday night, once the humans get involved and really start breaking everything down. So I'd be curious to see that. If you're being objectionable, I think there's a case to be made that Indiana, their schedule has been a little bit harder and they've played a little bit better than Ohio State. Ohio State's never been in trouble though this year at all. So it's that's going to be a tough argument. Like I said, I won't be surprised if the Buckeyes hold on to number 1, but I saw it, Thursday night, Friday night, they were talking about it on college, wrap up on ESPN, and there's apparently a lot of people behind closed doors. I think Indiana's going to be number 1 come Tuesday night. So that'll be fun to watch. After that, the BYU, being there is, I don't think that changes. Notre Dame's going to be the one to watch, obviously, because they have to put a group of 5 team in there somewhere. So right now they are in the unlucky number 12 spot, because I don't think Navy is going to jump anybody in that top 10. So I would expect to see Navy in a 12 hole come Tuesday. But the rest of this, I think Virginia. I think Virginia's a little high. I don't think they've played anybody. I think Missouri's tough to rank because now that the Bo's probably done for the year. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a tough injury. Obviously, we'll talk about that when we do a little bit of recap action, but that was a game-changing injury on the goal line. Like, it was just the worst possible time for that injury to happen in the worst part of the season, because I feel like their schedule was starting to kind of wind down a little bit to where, like, it was manageable for them to push for the college football playoffs. It was we'll have to take a look at what their backup can do. I can't remember his name right now. But Bill, what about the teams that aren't ranked? Like, for me, like, I kind of said this in the group chat earlier this week, and I will die on this hill, but I feel like Iowa needs to be and should be in this top 25. Iowa is a 2-loss team, but the 2 losses are to Iowa State when they had a healthy defense, and that was a top 15 team, And their other loss was to a 5-point loss to Indiana, 20-15. They have the best defensive stats against Indiana. They have the best showing against Indiana, and they're not even in the top 25, and they're a 6-2 team.
I would be honest. What I would tell you, I wouldn't argue that. I think it's insane that USC lost its last game, went out of the top 25, and just because so many teams in the bottom 8 or 9 lost last week, they're back in the top 25 without playing. I hate that.
Yeah.
Houston, if you put Houston and Iowa on a neutral field, I think everybody's thinking Iowa. I think Cincinnati and Louisville are both too high. Memphis is going to be interesting because they're going to factor into the group of 5. And they won last night. I'm pretty sure they were up big the last time I looked at it.
Yeah, it was like 31-15 they won or something, 34-15 or something like that.
Last time I saw it was 31-7, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the interesting part to watch because either Memphis or Navy, who's still undefeated. Navy plays.
Navy's got a tough game today. They got North Texas.
Yeah. So if Navy can win that game somehow, it's going to be very interesting to see if Navy leapfrogs Memphis. But either Memphis or Navy are going to be in that 12 spot come Tuesday night.
I totally agree with you there on one of those teams being the team to be at that final spot. And I love the American Conference this year. You got Navy, you got Memphis, you got USF, you got North Texas, Tulane. All teams that are vying for the conference title spot. Most of those teams are one-loss teams. Obviously, USF lost to Memphis last week, but also had their own other loss was to Miami, which you can't really fault them for. And they have 2 ranked wins on the season. So like this American Conference, that's definitely where that group of 5 team is going to come out of. It's just who can kind of last the rest, who can go get through the rest of their schedule without stumbling.
Yeah, Tulane, you saw Tulane really drop the ball on Thursday night. They got killed. That really
took a huge chance. Yeah.
That's a bad loss for them. But to your point, like you said, all these teams are going to kind of play each other down the stretch. Almost, exclusively. So it's going to be interesting because if not, it's going to give somebody like Boise or somebody else a chance to maybe slip in. If, like you said, somebody can't go through here with like 1 loss. I think if you get a 1-loss Memphis or a 1-loss Navy, somebody like that and then wins their conference championship game, I think that's going to be too hard to keep them out then at that point. But you get a 2 or 3-loss team, then you're going to look at Boise State or something that's going to be back in the conversation again after the disastrous start of the year they had this year.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think it kind of comes down to the next couple weeks because next week you got Tulane and Memphis facing off on Friday. So next Saturday we're going to have an idea of kind of who can kind of take control of the division, and then you got South Florida. If Navy can beat North Texas today on November 15th, we have a head-on collision between South Florida at Navy. And like I said, you can't really hold that Miami loss against South Florida too much because they have those 2 ranked wins. And like I said, the 3 ranked games in a row, they finally stumbled on that 3rd one against Miami on the road. But I'm saying over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see kind of the American Conference kind of figure itself out and kind of give us a nice picture for the college football playoff.
It's also going to be interesting to see how the committee handles Navy Notre Dame as well because they play each other in a couple of weeks. So
yeah, when is that game? Let me check. I got Navy up right now, actually. Yeah, so Navy's got North Texas today, and then they have Notre Dame on the 8th next Saturday.
Yeah, there you go.
So that'll be an interesting one.
That'll be, can they stay close and keep a competitive type thing? And then if they do lose, how do they like you're saying, a lot of it's going to come down to how they factor in those non-conference losses to the big ranked team. So it's going to be interesting. Tuesday, like I said, Tuesday night I think will be fun, and then it gets really fun because we get new rankings every week, and a lot of these teams are going to start playing each other. So even the SEC teams, there's a lot of them that to play each other still coming down the stretch. So there's going to be a lot of movement in the top 12 every week. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. But let's just quickly list off Navy's remaining schedule because this actually seems pretty daunting. I know you're a Navy fan. You're kind of pushing for them a little bit this season. But Navy's got North Texas today, Notre Dame next week. Then they got South Florida on the 15th, ranked Memphis on the 27th, and then they finish with Army-Navy. Like that's a pretty, as far as an American Conference schedule goes, that's a pretty tough stretch.
It definitely is. I mean, all the big hitters are at the end. But if you want to make the playoff, there's a tight games you have to win. I mean, that's no different than Ole Miss playing, A&M, Georgia, Alabama in
You're
3 out
right.
of 4 weeks. You know what I mean? What's
No,
up, Justin
absolutely.
Louder? But yeah, I mean, and if you make it, then obviously it would be undeniable that they would get in. So because the Notre Dame game at that point would just be a throwaway. So if they go 3-1 over that stretch and their losses to Notre Dame, I think Navy would be firmly in the playoff.
Yeah, especially because our Navy has a great way of controlling the time of possession and controlling the ball. So if they can keep that game even remotely close, even if it's like within 17 points, I think that looks immensely good for Navy for that Navy football team. And with the Navy and with Notre Dame's struggling defense this year, Navy could drive the ball on that defense, unlike previous years past where they've kind of looked like, a deer caught in the headlights against Notre Dame. So there's a lot of stories to be told yet this season still. That's top 25 for you folks. Please put in the chat if you think that's a team that's not ranked should be, or if you think someone that's ranked should not be. Throw them in the chat, and we'll throw them up on the screen for us. But if we're going to continue this ball rolling, and this one, Bill, this one kind of made me chuckle a little bit. Okay, we're going to talk about the LSU job. Obviously, just came open. We'll talk about the LSU recap from last week's game. But the Louisiana governor came out earlier this week, and he said that he would let Donald Trump pick the LSU football coach before he trusted LSU athletic director Scott Woodward to make the decision again after his Brian Kelly hiring. Since that announcement, Scott Woodward has been relieved of his duties, and the interim athletic director has full control over the next hire. But I got to tell you, Bill, I almost fell out of my chair laughing when I saw that he was going to let Donald Trump choose LSU's next head coach before he trusted the athletic director at the program to do so. What does that kind of say about LSU's program and the state that it's in right now?
I have a problem with this on a couple levels, of being honest. I don't think anybody. I mean, listen, like, we joke about how we don't like Brian Kelly on the show, and that's fine. It still wasn't a terrible hire at the time, and at the time, probably was the right hire, if we're being honest. There's a couple other guys you probably could have realistically maybe gone out and gotten, but Brian Kelly was fresh off a college football playoff run with Notre Dame. He never lost more than 2 games a year at Notre Dame. Like, again, we make fun of him and make light of it, but I mean, he's not a bad football coach. Is he a great football coach? I don't think so. But again, at that time, it wasn't a bad hire. So I have an issue with that. I don't necessarily think it was, again, the wrong decision at that time. It just didn't work out. And not all coaching hires work out. We've all seen that. Like, I mean, we were all ecstatic when Florida hired Billy Napier. We're like, that's a great hire. Like, we think that is an absolute, bullseye for him to rebuild Florida. And here we are, and 3.5 years later, and he's gone. Like, you never know how it's going to work out. I just don't think I don't think Brian Kelly really ever kind of figured out the South and embraced, I think, really what makes LSU LSU. And I think that was a problem. But I'll say this. If I'm Scott Woodward, I'm making you fire me. I'm not stepping down. And B, I'm trashing this guy after he says that. Like, not sure if anybody's ever been to New Orleans, but if you've been to New Orleans, outside of like the downtown district where, Mardi Gras and all that stuff happens, New Orleans is a shithole. It's a shithole. I'm like, yo, why don't you go clean up your city? Or how about we let Donald Trump come in and do your job? Because you suck at it. Like, the fact that you just back down, and what does this guy know about football? Like, what, he's going to make some great hire? Like, bro, just stay in your lane. Do your politics thing, because you're not great at that. You need to devote all your time to trying to clean up a city, and make it better for the people that live there. I don't think all the people that are that are struggling and need parts of the town cleaned up are really happy that you're devoting all your time into trying to pick out who the next college football coach is going to be. So for me, I wish this guy would just shut up. Donald Trump don't know shit about football either, so I don't need him involved in it whatsoever. Let LSU pick their coach. If it's the wrong coach, so be it. That's part of college football. It's part of football in general. You got to pick your own guy. but it's a little pot calling the kettle black for me, for this guy to say, Scott Woodward didn't do a good job, when you're, in charge of a city where, probably half of it's in poverty. So that's a little rich for my taste.
And that's kind of why it was funny to me too. It's like, don't you have some other stuff to worry about besides who's coaching the LSU football team? But no, but I do agree with what you said. Like, as far as at the time of the hire, I don't think Brian Kelly was a terrible choice. I think Brian Kelly may have handled the hire a little bit of the wrong way. Faking a Southern accent at the basketball game, and the way he kind of treated players, and the way he handles the press, and like, he may not be the most well-rounded of gentlemen. But I don't think he was a terrible hire. I really don't. I think that with the landscape of what college football is, and the tough conference that the SEC is, I think LSU, no matter who they would have hired, I think could have had the same kind of stretch. So I'm not really blaming Scott Woodward too much on that. For the information he had, I think he made the right decision. But we won't take too much time on LSU or the governor. I just want to kind of throw that in there. But Bill, this next piece of news is something that I think you will be very opinionated on and have something to say to it. Central Michigan has officially been sanctioned. Former Central Michigan coach Jim McElwain, 3 of his former staff members, and the Chippewas program will face NCAA penalties for their role in allowing former Michigan staff member Connor Stallions to be on the sideline during a 2023 game against Michigan State. I'm not going to lie, I forget that it was as recent as 2023 this was going on. This feels like it was forever ago. But like, it really wasn't. Bill, what's your initial kind of reaction to hearing that Central Michigan's getting sanctioned?
Not surprised. Now listen, this is a part of the bigger thing. But I also said when this came out that there's a lot of people that got this right from the get-go and said this wasn't Michigan related. This was him doing something completely different for somebody else. And again, this wasn't that hard to figure out because, again, Jim McElwain had been connected to the Michigan program a couple years before that. He was like a special offensive, assistant advisor type guy after, I forgot where he was coaching right before that. But anyway, so he knew certain guys from the staff. He probably knew Connor. Did he know Connor was doing this? I don't know. But, after everything that's come out, you saw like they went kind of through back channels to get him passes, to get him, coaching gear, all this other stuff. And they were using it for their own benefit. So they got caught, same kind of thing. A couple other coaches got caught lying, and then they started telling the truth. They got off pretty light, if I'm being honest. And I think that's because I don't think they could prove they used any of Connor's stuff or if it was being used in game. But the fine's pretty big. I know a bunch of the coaches got show causes, and then I think 2 years probation, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. For a little school like that, I mean, it's not the end of the world. So,
what
but
does it they say? Any press is good press, right?
I guess. But I think everybody's glad it's all behind them now. But like I said, that one was one of the ones from the get-go. Everybody's like, oh, like he was there for Michigan doing Michigan State stuff, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of people right away that were like, he knew a lot of people on that staff, and it didn't look like he was there doing Michigan stuff. So again, I'm just happy. I think I'm pretty much that's all of it. I think it's all done now. I don't think there's anything else out there.
I certainly hope so.
Hanging in the wind. So Central Michigan got a decent fine, a little slap on the wrist, and I know all those coaches are gone. So I think everybody starts moving on with life now.
Yeah, I think the only way it gets brought back up is if Jim Harbaugh gets an itch to come back to college football at some point.
I don't think he's going
Which
to.
he won't. He's not going to, but that would be the only thing I could think of that could bring this back up. Well, good. That's it for Break the Huddle Weekly. Bill, I'm gonna let you choose. We got two destinations next. We got either our college football playoff poll prediction, or we can jump into recaps.
Well, We'll do recaps first, and then because we can break it up with the other stuff in the middle.
I dig it. All right, give me 1 second here. Boom, boom, and it's this one. Boom, there we go. All right, we have the recaps in front of us here. Take a quick look. Honestly, I thought last week's games are fantastic, other than that LSU A&M shit show. But where do you want to start, sir?
We're going to start then. We're going to get it out of the way since we just kind of talked about it. Texas A&M 49, LSU 25 at Death Valley at night. A&M said, "Don't care. We're going to go win." They won big. Game started out pretty tight. And then once A&M really got their footing and kind of found their groove offensively, all of LSU's defensive issues popped up real quick. Ultimately, this is the game that led to Brian Kelly being fired a couple days later. I think LSU might go full tailspin here. I'll be really curious to see how they play later today with an interim coach. Nussmeier, just another kind of blah performance. And they got a bunch of hard games still left. I'd be really curious to see how they respond. Or if you see guys start being like, you know what, I'm going to sit down for the rest of the year. I'd be really curious to see how that locker room responds. For A&M, again, they're the best team in the country that nobody is talking about. Nobody. I promise you, even watch Tuesday night. They will talk about Indiana. They'll talk about Ohio State. They'll talk about Georgia. They'll talk about Alabama. And A&M's going to sit there no worse than number 3. I don't know what it's going to take, but I mean, obviously, if I'm Mike Elko, I'm not saying a word. I'll be like, just, you know what? Let my guys keep flying beneath the radar. We'll keep winning football games. They have the inside track to the SEC championship game right now. And if they win that, it's hard to figure out or say that they're not going to be either the 1 or 2 seed at that point. Really, really good team. Offense is explosive. And the defense, I wouldn't call the defense elite, but they're very good at making you earn your points. They sustain drives. There are a lot of bend, don't break. You're not going to score on that defense in like 3 plays. So they make you work for it. And that's a good combination when you have an offense that can score in 3 plays if they have to. So A&M, like I said, another huge road win, ranked win at night in, what's considered by most the hardest atmosphere to go play in. Just really impressive. A&M just keeps rolling.
Do we think it was the 24-point loss that cost Brian Kelly his job? Like, for example, if they lose this game, like it's the number 3 team in the country, it's one of the best teams in the country this year, but they lose this game by 1 possession. Do you think he still gets fired?
It's a good question. I think when it's a close game and they're competitive, and like you said, like A&M walks them off, or LSU has the ball, but they just can't punch it in, and they lose 49-42. I think that's a different conversation, because I think you're going in that room and you have a lot of people that again, you have to remember there's a lot of people that are still there that were behind the Brian Kelly signing, that they thought he was the guy. So I think there's probably a lot of people in that room at that point that are like, you know what, we just lost to the number 3 team in the country by a touchdown. Like the team is still playing hard, like they're still there. I think you would have more support. Not saying he still doesn't get fired. I think you would have more support in the room, though. I think it'd been a harder decision. Getting blown out, third straight loss, is it? I think, or 3. They lost 3 or 4, something like that.
Let's just double check here. 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. So getting blown out at home, at night, nonetheless, on national TV. I think the people that were probably already calling for his dismissal got a bunch more ammo, and then they were probably the loudest voices at the table at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it like earlier in the show. Preseason polls, man, they're extremely misleading. I mean, LSU, we got to remember, was as high as number 3 team in the country week 4 of this season. And when they beat Clemson to start the season off 17-10, we were like, oh my goodness, this LSU team is going to make some noise. And then we see what kind of team Clemson ended up to be. And then after that, they beat Louisiana Tech by only 16 points, 23-7, not in LSU fashion. Really, every single game before their losing streak started was closer than it should have been. And then obviously they lose to Ole Miss, lose to Vanderbilt, lose to LSU. They were up 18-14 at halftime of this A&M game. And then the second half, when it comes time to make the adjustments, Mike Elko made the adjustments. Brian Kelly kept doing more of the same. And if you're not going to find success, repeating yourself over and over again. So I do think that if this game was closer, he doesn't get fired, of course. I think that he is allowed to at least finish off the season. But LSU does have a bye today. Then they go into Alabama next week. So in the interim coach's first gig is going to be on the road at Alabama, the number 4 team in the country. Then they got Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and they finish up against Oklahoma. So best case scenario, I think they go 2-2 in that stretch. Worst case scenario, Arkansas, they can still beat you. They're still an SEC program. I think they could go 1-3 in this last 4 games if they don't right the ship right away. And that barely puts them bowl eligible. And could you imagine LSU at 6-6, like going into a bowl game? Like, that's going to hurt recruiting. That's going to hurt a lot of things. So they got to find a way to pull out, go 2-2 at least over the next 4 games.
I don't disagree. I mean, is it shocking to you that Merritt Reed's not getting any Heisman consideration whatsoever?
Well, I absolutely think Marcel Reed needs to be. He had 113 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns against LSU's defense. The only real pushback I think that I could really say to him is that he does turn the ball over. He has 6 interceptions on the season, where a lot of the other candidates are looking at like 1, 2, or 3 interceptions. They're not very turnover prone. I think Marcel Reed needs to clean it up a little bit. I mean, he's only a sophomore. He's got time to learn, and which is even scarier. The A&M is this good, and their starting quarterback still has 2 more years in the system that he could play if he wants to. But yeah, Marcel Reed's got to be in the conversation at some point, at least discussed in the top 5 as someone that should be invited to New York. I just think he needs to clean up his turnovers just a little bit. Other than that, I think sky's the limit for this kid. I think so there's something very Lamar Jackson about him. Again, not saying he's Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying how he plays the game is very similar.
I think it's a great comp for him, to be honest. I mean, 12 of 21 for 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, still a 92.4 QBR. Yeah. And he had another 13 carries for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know what else more you could do. I didn't see the interceptions live, so I didn't know if they were bad interceptions, if it was a wide receiver tip play, or what happened on those. But I think he just needs to clean up his turnovers a little bit, and I think sky's the limit. But Bill, where are we going next?
We'll go to South Florida, Memphis, because we already touched on this game a little bit. Yep. Memphis was unranked at the time. They're now ranked 25, and like I said, we already touched on they played earlier this week and they won again. So they are now 8-1. Memphis is, I don't know how to describe Memphis. I've watched them. They're
gutsy.
They're gutsy. They're gritty. Brendan Lewis is a good quarterback. He's a starting quarterback. He's a very workman-like type guy. He's not he'll throw for 300 yards every game. It's not going to be super showy though. He's very consistent. He's very safe with the football, which again, for a team like that, that's a good thing. He's not giving the other team extra possessions. He's very responsible with the football. But Memphis is always a team, I feel like every year we kind of get in this situation with them. They always have a good offense. It's what their defense does. I feel like their defense is a little bit better this year than it normally is. South Florida, like we already said, started the year out on fire with that big win. And then went to Miami and kind of finally ran out of gas for what was a brutal stretch to start the year for lack of a better term, for a mid-major team. But they're still hanging in. But again, we like Alex was talking about earlier with the American conference, it's deep this year. Like I said, I would say odds on. I mean, I would say 5 out of the top 6 teams to take that at-large bid for the Group of Five are in this conference. It's going to be one of these teams. Um, I didn't get to watch like practically any of this game because there's other stuff on, obviously. But um, again, another big win for Memphis. Not surprised at home, and then they won again on Thursday night. So um, they look like they're in the driver's seat right now. I feel like they control their own destiny. I feel like if they win out, I don't know if anybody can leapfrog them.
So I'm going to be, because like you just said, you didn't entirely watch the game, from start to finish. You kind of checked in on it here and there. If I could describe this game for you, I would describe this as Ole Miss, Georgia from 2 weeks ago. South Florida absolutely dominated this game. They were up 24-14 at halftime. They were up going into the fourth quarter, just like Ole Miss was a couple weeks ago against Georgia. And then Memphis absolutely flipped a switch. They were the only team that scored in the fourth quarter. They had a touchdown, an opening drive touchdown to make it 31-23, a field goal to bring it within 5, and then they had a touchdown. A 4-minute drive, 11 play, 70-yard drive on their last drive to ultimately take the lead. And then South Florida missed the game-tying field goal at the end of the game. So like this very reminiscent of that Ole Miss Georgia, where Ole Miss kind of gave that game away to Georgia by being timid on defense, allowing short plays, and then offense they were just trying not to, essentially give the ball away and turn the ball over in plus territory. So Memphis just kind of outlasted South Florida. Memphis played not scared, like they had nothing to lose, which they didn't, and South Florida played like they had everything to lose in that fourth quarter. So to me, I feel like South Florida is the better team, but Memphis had the better day. And I think because of that, I think Memphis is obviously in the front seat, or is in that head seat to get that 12th college football playoff spot. But I really wish South Florida would have won this game, because I feel like South Florida could be the team that actually makes noise in the college football playoff. So hopefully this thing's kind of shape itself out. Memphis does have 3 games left. They have Tulane this upcoming Friday, which that's going to be a great game. They got East Carolina, and then they end the season on a Thursday night in November against Navy. So Memphis has definitely a manageable schedule, but they got a couple tough games that they could stumble upon. So they're going to have to still play their best the rest of the season. And then as far as South Florida goes, as a team that I think will still find its way back in the ranking here soon, and will be waiting for Memphis to stumble in one of those games. They have a little bit of an easier route. If they got UTSA, Texas San Antonio on Thursday, Navy, UAB, and then Rice. So essentially, besides that Navy game, their schedule is a lot less daunting. So I'm still kind of pushing for South Florida to make that college football playoff, but Memphis is definitely in the driver's seat.
I wouldn't overlook UTSA after the thumping they put on Tulane on Thursday night.
What is their? Yes, where are they in the standings right now? I mean, yeah, UTSA. Yeah, I mean, the only issue is they stumbled earlier on in the season. I mean, they're a 4-4 team right now. But yeah, I mean, UTSA could definitely be that team that you overlook and comes out and beats you by 3 points because you didn't prepare for them properly. So I totally agree with you.
All right, let's go top right. Let's go Mizzou Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is quickly becoming Cinderella. It's a matter of how long they can keep this magic up. A lower scoring game. It wasn't me. I want to say Cottrell actually predicted it was going to be a lower scoring game. But both Vila, as we mentioned, went out hurt in this game pretty early on. Diego Pavia played a solid game, but nothing overwhelming. This was honestly this was a defensive battle and a field position game, which is with all the playmakers in the game, and we mentioned Bo and Pavia, the way they've been all year. I thought this game would have had a little bit more spark and offense in it, but it didn't. It was a lot of run and 3 yards pile of dust and a lot of bad third down conversions on both sides. And once Bo went down, I feel like Missouri's offense really got, I don't want to say stagnant, but you could just tell a lot of the creativity and the playbook got shortened real quick. And I think Vanderbilt's defense, and give their DC credit, they really started pressing Mizzou's receivers, and they were like we're going to make this kid get on the field and beat us, and they couldn't. And if he had one final drive in the fourth quarter to put them up 17-10 early on, and the defense held. So Vanderbilt, another ranked win. Again, I think they're Cinderella this year. I don't know how long they keep it moving on. I don't know what they have left, but they are the darlings right there of college football right now. So I'd be very curious to see where they get ranked on Tuesday night with their resume. I can see them being a little higher than 10, to be honest. And heartbreak for Missouri. Missouri had a really great start to the year. We talked about Bo a lot on this show. Obviously, from him having local connections to Penn State and him transferring out last year, to get the opportunity he had to play down there this year, and now it looks like they're saying he might make it back at the very end of the year, but it's going to be really close. So Missouri, I feel like, is kind of fallen out of it. I think they would need a lot of help at this point. And obviously Vanderbilt just keeps going. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure who they have left, but
Missouri or Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt.
Okay, I'll check. Look, Bill, I watched this game because I've been kind of pulling for Missouri this season as my SEC team, and obviously Bo Prabula is someone that I was like, he could be in the Heisman talks next year. As he kind of develops a little more this year, has a full year under his belt as a starter, and he was really making some noise. But his injury absolutely changed the outcome of this game. When he got injured, which thank goodness he could come back at the end of the year, because when it first happened, we were speculating like it was like a season-ending, a career-ending type injury, the way that it looked when it happened. But he got bent back again. So that's just never. It actually reminded me of kind of like of the Cam Scadaboo leg break on Sunday in the NFL. I thought it was very similar. But anyway, they were on the 2-yard line about to score and go up when that happened. And when he went out, they were unable to push the points across. Honestly, completely changed the outcome of the game. Defense completely took over for both sides. Missouri was able to tie it at 10-10 in the fourth quarter, and even was driving to take the lead and try and having a chance to win this game before an unexpected fumble, gave Vanderbilt the ball back. Vanderbilt drove down the field, and they were ultimately able to win this game. But like I said, that Bo Prabula injury completely changed the outcome of this game. We should be talking about how Missouri won this game 17-10, not the other way around. But just like you said, to be a Cinderella, whether it's in college football, college basketball, whatever it is, you have to have some lucky bounces happen your way. And not saying that Bo being injured was lucky, but that injury did kind of help them kind of get over that hump of, the Missouri was really pushing Vanderbilt to the brink during that game. So obviously it sucks for Missouri. I think their season is kind of done. I think they have a bye week this week. As far as Vanderbilt's schedule goes, Vanderbilt has a bye this week, and then they have. Oh no, I'm sorry, no, they don't. Vanderbilt plays Texas today, on the road at Texas. Texas is the favorite there, and then they have Auburn at home, Kentucky at home, and on the road versus Tennessee. So they got 2 ranked matchups, both of them on the road today against Texas, and last game of the season against Tennessee. Bill, when you hear that schedule of Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee, what kind of outcomes do you see for Vanderbilt the rest of the way?
I'm not going to say they can't win today. I know it looks like Arch is going to play, but
What it looks like.
Where's the Auburn game at?
The Auburn game is is at Vanderbilt.
I mean, I think they should win that game. Kentucky, they should definitely beat. And then it's Tennessee away.
Tennessee is on the road. Yep.
That would be. I mean, that's probably for their season, if we're being honest. If we're assuming they lose today, if they win today, I don't know if that Tennessee. That yeah, I don't know if the Tennessee game even matters at that point. But I don't think they should be any worse than 2-2. I think 3-1 is very doable. And then I think you'll learn a lot today in that. I think even if Arch plays, I think Vanderbilt's defense is going to be okay. I'm curious to see how Vanderbilt's offense is going to match up against that Texas defense, but we'll get into that when we do previews later in the show. But
Of course, of
um,
course.
um, I still think they got a chance. I think they got a really good chance. Like I said, if they can go 3-1 over those four, I think they're definitely in. I don't know how you'd be able to leave them out if
Yeah,
you're
2-loss
telling me.
SEC team. Yeah, I agree.
And their losses would be either on the road to Texas or Tennessee. And who'd they lose to earlier?
I actually,
Bama. They lost to Bama.
yep, that was it.
Yeah. So there's no way they're not in.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I think they have they're a team that controls their own destiny. So
Which is crazy to say because obviously last year, Nick Saban kind of jinxed it by saying that you go to Vanderbilt and you're guaranteed to win. Ever since that statement was said, Vanderbilt has been on an absolute tear. So it is strange to me to even see the Vanderbilt V in the top 12 of any poll. If any poll, that's not the bottom of the poll.
yeah.
But hey, I mean, it's good for college football when every SEC team is competitive. It makes for great football. So can't complain too much. Looking at the SEC standings real quick, if this can pop up for me. Looks like A&M and Alabama are obviously undefeated in the conference. Then you got Georgia, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt and Texas, all with one loss, still kind of having that chance for the SEC championship game. So realistically, you got about 6 teams. 6 teams that are still in the running for the not only the college football playoff, but for the SEC championship game. So that'll be interesting. Do A&M and Alabama play each other? I don't think that they do.
I thought they did towards the end.
That's what I'm checking right now. Okay, A&M has Missouri, South Carolina, Samford, and then Texas. So yeah, A&M and Alabama do not play each other. So that could be a collision course here in the next month, 2 months or so as well. So that'll be fun to talk about. But I think next week, Bill, we should take a quick look at the conference standings. I'll make a little slide that has all the major conferences as far as what the standings look like, just so we can kind of talk about them when hopefully Cottrell's back to kind of talk about that. But I think we should do that next week. I think we're close enough to the end of the season where the standings are going to start to matter.
We definitely could do that because there's I mean, even in the Big Ten, there's still 4 or 5 teams that are alive to get in. So
yeah,
a whole lot of crazy stuff going on. But let's go to the game of the week and we'll get out of here for recaps and get into some other fun stuff. Ole Miss, another big win against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's defense has kind of just disappeared the last couple of weeks, which is crazy as it was because at the beginning of the year they were stifling, and they looked like they were going to be a top 10 unit, and they're giving up big chunk plays and explosive plays all of a sudden. Mateer looked a little bit better. I still don't think he's fully healthy. And Ole Miss, I will tell you this: if Ole Miss has a crutch, besides their defense, they don't know how to put a team away.
Yes, that is facts.
They were up relatively comfortable in this game, and then again, Oklahoma clawed back into it, and Oklahoma had the ball driving when this game ended. It's I don't want to make it sound like it's a prophecy or anything, but you play like that in the college football playoffs, somebody will eventually make you pay for it. You get these good teams down and you have them beat, you got to step on the throat. You got to finish the game. This is 2 or 3 out of the last 4 weeks where Ole Miss has looked great and definitely looked like the better team for the majority of the game and barely won football games. That is a tight rope to walk. To think you're going to go through a college football playoff and win 4 games that way, and one of these teams aren't going to make you pay for it. They gotta figure out how to adjust their play calling when they're up big and still stay aggressive, not get passive. And this defense looks great for like the first half, but it looks like every time these coaches go in for halftime, they figure out exactly what Ole Miss is doing. They come out, make adjustments, and Ole Miss's defense makes no adjustments. And then you see these teams start, huge play, touchdown, and they get right back in the game. So I think Ole Miss has to not only adjust their defense, especially at halftime, but in general, they have to learn to put teams away because, like I said, it's eventually going to cost them.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. They said the first half, Ole Miss absolutely dominated. It looked like they were going to walk out with just like they did against Georgia the week before, and then Oklahoma came out third quarter. They punted on the first drive down by 12, and they got field goal, touchdown on their last 3 drives to end the third quarter. And then I don't know what was said on the sideline, but Ole Miss's defense stepped up in the fourth quarter. But Oklahoma still had the chance to honestly win this game. They said just like you said, they were driving at the end of the game to win it. They also had a 45-yard drive that they got at 8-play, 45 yards that ended on downs. That realistically they should have converted, but just it was just a miscommunication on the offense. And so, like I said, this was a game that was one Oklahoma miscommunication away from being Oklahoma on top of this game. So I definitely agree with you. Ole Miss needs to find a way to put teams away in the second half, because even though they won this game, they were still outscored in the second half by 4 points. And obviously Georgia completely dominated them in the fourth quarter of the previous game. I think Ole Miss is really only saving grace here is that you have an absolute stud at quarterback who can absolutely make any play, make any throw. And I think you really just got in those fourth quarter situations, you can't play timid on offense. You got to keep running the same offense you've been running all game, because the last 2 weeks, you've kind of eased up on your play calling and you've allowed the opposing team to come back in the game, losing one of those games for your only loss of the season. So trust in Trinidad Chambliss. Let him make the decisions and make the plays needed to get you guys to victory, because you can't just handcuff him. And right now it's bad enough that you only have this last game against Oklahoma. You only had two of your players with rush attempts. Kawan Lacey had 27 carries and Trinidad Chambliss had 12. You got to add some differentiation in there. You just got to mix it up in the run game a little bit more. All I'm going to say is I'm a huge Lane Kiffin fan. I like Ole Miss. I think this is a team that's destined for the college football playoff. But also at the same point, if they don't tighten some stuff up and make sure all their buttons are buttons, their T's are crossed, their I's are dotted, they will lose another game this season. I mean, like, the rest of their schedule looks easy. They got the Citadel next week. They have South Carolina today. South Carolina is a team where Lenore Sellers, he is a difference maker. If you play like this and you play timid defensively against South Carolina, they can beat you. And then they have the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. So they have a couple of these games that are definitely losable. And if they want to make the college football playoff, they got to not only finish each game, they got to finish the rest of the season. So I'm high on this Ole Miss team, but I still have a little room for skepticism.
Lenore Sellers was one unfortunate fumble away from beating Alabama last week, for being honest. So
exactly.
I'm going to ask you one question, though, because I know you do like him. Is Lane Kiffin the coach at Ole Miss next year?
I really want to say yes.
But
I really want to say yes, because he had a team meeting. I feel like that was to address him not leaving. So I want to say yes, he is going to be there. But I also don't know, because like I said, he's been talking crap about the LSU job. Like, who wants to live in Louisiana? Like, who wants to live there? Nobody. I'm not saying
but
that.
like he's not.
That.
I mean, but
and then you got
part
Florida.
of it's not wrong.
Like Florida, right? But like Florida, like that's a place. It was his comments. Louisiana is not a place you want to live. Florida is like a destination location where people who are older want to move because of the weather and like all that stuff. Like, that's a place you want to live. So that comment kind of almost was like a backhanded hint that he might be leaving in a weird way. But I'm hoping he stays. I really don't want him to leave. I think he should stay at Ole Miss. I think that should be his program till he retires or goes to the NFL or whatever. I think he's turned it into a big enough of a program now where he can do whatever he wants to do there, success-wise, as long as he can get the right players and people in, people in house. So I think yes, I think he stays at Ole Miss.
The only problem with I do not. I think he's leaving. Okay. I think somebody's going to throw an absurd amount of money at him, and I think he.
You think it's Florida?
Out of the two of them, yeah. Because originally, I thought originally he was going to go to Florida. And again, I don't think LSU. Then LSU came open. I don't think that changes anything for me. He does genuinely seem like he doesn't like LSU. So
yeah.
Florida, I think. I mean, listen. I mean, this will be a perfect segue into what we're about to do. But Florida's just a better job than Ole Miss. And I know he's making fun of like who wants to live there or who wants to go there. Like Mississippi isn't high on anybody's like list of like cool, definitely got to go visit
No,
there. Like
no.
so, we need to calm down with all that stuff. But we decided to have a little fun with all these coaching carousels, and obviously, um, we just made a top 5 list of what we think. This is how I did my list. I did mine top 5 coaching jobs that there are, regardless if they're open or not. Like, so if every coaching job was open, this would be my top 5.
Yep.
That's the easiest way for me to explain it. But I'm not sure if you did yours with the same
So I
thing.
I did top 5 college football jobs available if they were all available in today's NIL world. I did
Okay.
not put them 1 through 5. I just have 5 teams that I think would be the top 5 jobs. I don't have them ranked like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or anything, but I got my top 5.
Gotcha.
So Bill, since you kind of segue us into this, let's go ahead and throw your list up first, and let's talk about it.
All right. Texas is number 1 for me simply because it seems like they're unlimited amount of resources, and by resources I mean money. It's ironic I have the number 1 because there's 2 other teams on here that actually have the biggest endowments in the country, but there's a lot of those people that are not just going to fork over millions of dollars for the football team. They use it for academics and other things in those schools. Texas has a bunch of, not to be a cliche or typecast anybody, but they just have a bunch of old guys that have a lot of money that love football, and they're like, here you go. Here's millions and $1 million check. Pay somebody to come here play. So unfortunately, I think you factor in weather, facilities, resources, all that. I have Texas number 1. Alabama's number 2. Alabama's the one on here I think that can move depending on how the next 5 to 10 years go, and I mean that because I still think they're living a lot on, the whole Nick Saban wave of success, I guess you could say. If Kellen DeBoer keeps all that up, I think Alabama, firmly stays in the top 5. I think they need more NIL money, but they also still have that huge pipeline and list of examples of all the kids that go there that are, thriving in the NFL. And as long as they can keep that going and keep that flowing, they're going to remain on this list because, again, at the end of the day, they're Alabama. I have Michigan number 3. Again, resources. They redid their NIL 2 years ago. They are top 3 in NIL in the country right now. Same thing. Their resources are top notch, facilities, all that stuff. They have all the heritage and all the history. They're a blue blood program. I think that puts them at number 3. Ohio State, same way. The only thing I would say about Ohio State would be their facilities. I think need a little bit of an upgrade. But again, they have a ton of money brought in from their alumni and from their donors. Always keeps them relevant. With the recent history they've had in the last 10, 15 years with Urban Meyer, now Ryan Day, everybody would kill for that job. Georgia, Notre Dame, I put it tie for 5th. I couldn't decide between the 2. Notre Dame is the other team, along with Michigan, that has the biggest endowment in the country from their alumni. Georgia just has so much success recently. Same thing with Alabama, with putting all the kids to, in the NFL. It's hard to argue that wouldn't be a top 5 job. Notre Dame is a little bit more strict with the confines of recruiting. They deal a lot with what Michigan does. Doesn't matter how good you are on the athletic field. If you don't meet certain academic requirements, they will not admit you. Georgia, I think what hurts Georgia is the lack of any kind of control. It almost, and I mean this sincerely, I almost took them off this list because of all the stuff that's been going on down there. I think eventually it's going to start to hurt the brand because I think eventually there's going to be a parent or two every recruiting class that's going to be like, you know what, I don't want you going there. Like they're racing all around town, people are dying. I think their brand's taken a little bit of a hit the last year and a half. So I had them tied for 5th, whereas I think if we did this 3 years ago, they'd probably be in the top 3. So that's my top 5.
Yeah, I can't argue with any of them. I definitely see where your argument is on that Georgia Notre Dame front. I was surprised you put Texas first, though. I was a little surprised there. But yeah, let's take a look at what I have. Like I said, I did not put them in any particular order, though the one team is my one team. And so this is my top 5 list. And honestly, it all starts at the University of Oregon. And the reason I say that is not only is it essentially the college football hub on the West Coast, where it used to be USC. I feel like that West Coast powerhouse has now gone up north to Eugene. And so I think that as far as the West Coast recruiting goes, you're going to have the first choice of the litter. Obviously, you're always going to have to compete with UCLA, USC, the California schools, of course. But I think Oregon has kind of put itself in the front running for one of the premier programs in the country and the premier program on the West Coast. Not to mention, you got the backing of Nike. They actually did some research over the last 2 decades. Phil Knight has personally donated over $1 billion, billion with a B, to the University of Oregon athletic program. Since NIL has started, they've spent over $969 million across all sports. So obviously this is a football list. That kind of money shows what the university is willing to spend to keep the school and your team competitive. So Oregon is definitely got to be top on that list. Ohio State, one of the biggest names in the country, just won a national championship. Obviously, they spend NIL. They recruit well. They have great coaches, or great coaches want to coach there. I think Ohio State's a great place there. Now, Bill, don't feel like I left you off by not putting Michigan on this list. I just don't put Michigan on this list because of the whole Connor Stallions thing. If I was a coach looking for a job, I would want to stay away from Michigan for a little bit. That's why I didn't put them on the list. And then you got Notre Dame, which I'm looking at this as not only as jobs I would want to coach in. I'm also looking at this as a list of teams that I think are the most successful. And Notre Dame not being in a conference and still making the college football playoff. They're a 2-loss team who lost obviously to Miami, and who was their other loss this year, Bill? I forgot for Notre Dame. It was Miami and
A&M.
A&M. Thank you. Both those teams are top 5 teams in the country right now, or actually Miami's 10, A&M is 3, of course. But even with 2 losses early in the season, they're still already back up in the top 12 of the college football polls. So that kind of explains to you what them not being in a conference does. So I think as far as being able to succeed, Notre Dame is definitely on that list. Cottrell, Dan Lanning did put that Oregon at number 1. That's why he's not leaving. Get out of here. Texas Tech. This is a team that, like I said, this day and age in the NIL landscape. What are you laughing about?
Show listen to the show now. This is the point where he's turning off that he's going to start commenting now.
The blasphemy. Hey, I put Ohio State on the list, bro. I didn't put Michigan. I put Ohio State on there. And I did say before the segment started, this is not in any particular order, just 5. But no, and then Texas Tech, they spent about $28 million this year alone on roster upgrades. I want to coach for a program that puts my program first and is not afraid to spend money to get the talent in. And of course, Alabama, obviously you have the success of Nick Saban that kind of carries over to your regime. You got Kalen DeBoer, he's finding his footing, but Alabama will always be that one of those, those blue blood programs that's always going to be feared and always going to be on a top 3 list of any recruit in the country. Alabama is always going to be on their top 3 list as long as they're being offered. So those are my top 5 programs. Like I said, not in any particular order. And Bill, like I said, please don't feel slighted. I didn't put Michigan on there. I feel like any coach would want to stay away from that Michigan program for the next few years after all that Connor Stallion stuff.
I don't know. My only pushback would be, I don't know why you would say that. Like they're not dealing with any kind of probation or scholarship loss or anything like that. There's no coach in the world that takes a Texas Tech job over a Michigan job. None.
Well, remember, I made this my list based off of opportunity for success, NIL spending. Like I had my reasons a little different because, like I said, with Texas Tech, without that type of spending, they wouldn't be a top 25 program. Obviously, spending $28 million this year just on roster upgrades, like that would make me want to go there. We've had an entire season of coaches talking about comparing their schools' spending versus other schools' spending and how they're tying it to success. Well, Texas Tech is not allowing that to be a conversation at their school. They're just putting their money where their mouth is, and it's showing up on the field this year. So that's why Texas Tech is on my list. Yeah, Cottrell, Bill did give his list, and just because you're on, I'll show you his list. Texas, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia / Notre Dame. His is in his order, I believe, right, Bill?
Correct.
1, 2, yeah, perfect. So his is ordered by preference. Mine was not. Boom. But I think, Bill, we're done with our top 5 coaching jobs. Should we jump into our college football playoff predictions and then do previews, or should we save the predictions for at the end of the show?
No, let's do what we think our top 12 is going to be, and then we'll do previews, and then we'll do pick 'em and eliminator, and we'll get out of here.
Boom. I just went ahead and threw them both up on the same slide. A lot of similar teams, a lot of similar orders. I don't expect this. Like I said, I did this obviously based off records today. I have a couple feelings like maybe 1 or 2 of these teams may lose this weekend, which obviously could affect this list. But we're going to go with the assumption that everybody wins this week for my list anyway.
I didn't slight Oregon. I think Oregon's a top
6. If they would have been top 6, they would have been on the list.
No, I mean, listen, I think you could argue. I'm trying to think who else. You got. I mean, Oregon's probably in the top 10 now. I mean, they're in the discussion. Don't get me wrong. I just don't. Again, I just don't think they're top 5. And again, if Lanning can win there and get that pedigree going, then I think it changes everything. But again, I mean, until then, it's like nobody's won one there. Like, what's it going to take for me to go there? Like, what am I going to have to change to go there and win a national championship? Because again, to your point, as much as we hate it, like, Michigan just won one. Ohio State just won one. Alabama's won like 6 the last like 15 years. Georgia's won 2 or 3. Like, it's you have the pedigree and you have the past.
We've been to 2 though. We've been to 2 of those natties. I'm just saying.
All right, you didn't win them. You didn't win them. You gotta win one. I don't think you realize how much easier your life is going to be if you win a national championship.
We like to be invited to the party. We don't like to be the party. All right.
You'll get Cottrell off your back for number 1.
That'll never happen. Let's be honest.
That'll be the biggest thing. Nah, Cottrell will give you respect if you win one. He'll just bust your balls that it took so long. But it is again. I think there's a lot of. I think perception goes into those jobs as well. I would just say if you listed all those jobs and said the pay was the same in all of them, go pick one. I don't think Oregon gets picked in the top 5. That's just my opinion.
And that's honestly, I wish we could get a college football coach on here. Like, let's get Ed Orgeron on here and be like, Coach, what's your top 5 coaching jobs? LSU, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Auburn, go Tigers.
Yeah.
Just pick all the Tiger teams. Anyway, but Bill, college football playoff.
Where's the female dorms? Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Here we go.
So I'm predicting. I'm already on record. I would keep Ohio State number 1. This is how I think they're going to break down come Tuesday. For a lot of people say it. I think there's a lot of people that are connected to people in that room. There's a lot of I guess you could say momentum behind putting Indiana at number 1. I would still be shocked if they did it, but again, I'm reading a lot of it and seeing a lot of it. So some reason I have them flip-flop. I think A&M is locked in at number 3. I think Bama and Georgia are locked in because Alabama beat Georgia. There's nowhere for Georgia to go there. I think Oregon's firmly, placed there. Their only loss being to either number 1 or number 2 Indiana. Ole Miss, I think, has. This is where you kind of start getting to where the eye test is really going to matter, because I think the top 6 or 7, or it'll be top 6 teams have really distinguished themselves with the results and how they've played and how people have seen them. So I don't think there's much argument in the top six. I think the top six is locked the way it is. Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, BYU. I think the records are all very similar. Ole Miss definitely probably has the best, I guess, resume you could say. But I think it's where it gets into now watching them play and what they do and what they don't do well. I think this is where the conversation's really going to start. Like I mentioned Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is great at coming out of the gate hot. They're a good front runner. They're horrible closers. I think I have Vanderbilt over Georgia Tech. I think they've just played a little bit of a stronger schedule. They're a little bit more battle tested. Love Haynes King at Georgia Tech, though. I love that Georgia Tech is literally in this conversation this far along in the season. My darlings from last year, BYU, are showing out again. I got Miami there. I have Navy there only because I think if Navy pulls the upset today, I think there's a chance they leapfrog Memphis. So we'll see if that happens. I think it'll be a big road win. If not, I think it's going to be Memphis, and then Memphis will be 12. Obviously, neither one of us have Notre Dame getting in. They are just stuck in that, the chair you don't want to be stuck in right now, which is the 12 spot. So what really gets interesting now is these teams playing each other someone down the stretch. It's how far down do they let them fall? So, if Ole Miss loses, there's going to be a lot of politicking in that room to make sure they don't fall any down further than 11. And that's where all the politics will start playing in, and the lack of consistency. So we will see how it all plays out. But that is my prediction how they look Tuesday night.
Yeah, and like I said, Bill, our lists are pretty much damn near similar with a couple flip flops. I think Ohio State does stay number one. I do think that there is a case for Indiana to be there, as they have a best win than Ohio State does. Obviously, that Texas matchup at the beginning of the year was a very highly prolific matchup, but because Texas has had such a fall off this season, it feels like they've fallen off so much since that game. And Indiana's beat Oregon, who is a top 6 team, and like we just said, is cemented in that top 6 spot. I go A&M, Alabama, Georgia. They can't really go anywhere. It's like you said. I do have Georgia Tech in front of Vanderbilt. I really like what Georgia Tech has and how they played this year. They've played a lot of close games that they shouldn't have. But for me, as someone who's looking at this, I like a team that's won a lot of close games, because in the college football playoff, that's what you're going to get, or that's what you're hoping to get, is a lot of close games. And I like to back a team that knows how to win those close games. Vanderbilt, I feel like you said, they're the Cinderella, they're the darling. I feel like they're still going to get tested this year, and so I think that Georgia Tech's going to be ranked ahead of them. And the real thing about me leaving Notre Dame off the list is Miami's loss to Louisville killed Notre Dame. They needed Miami to win out as long as they could to strengthen that loss for them. And I think as long as Miami is in that 10-11 spot, Notre Dame can't pass them. It's like they need Miami to beat some people, make some noise in the ACC the rest of the way. Who does Miami have left? Miami has SMU today at 9 a.m. early game, noon kickoff. And then we got Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. Those are very winnable games. And for Notre Dame to get in, they need Miami to win out. There's no way Miami can lose one of those games and have Notre Dame have a shot, because Notre Dame can't jump Miami. There's no way that happens. So that's why I left Notre Dame off my list, because I don't see them jumping Miami, or they have no ability to jump Miami. And obviously that 12 spot is going to be saved for group of 5 team. And I think that right now, for the first poll, that team is Memphis. I think South Florida is the team that ultimately gets in at the end of the year. But for the first playoff poll, I think Memphis has that spot kind of locked up. I think that they took care of business yesterday. Their stresses are done for the week. Navy has to play a tough North Texas team on the road today. So like I said, there's a lot of good football today that's going to determine how this list plays out. But if everything stays how it is right now, I have Memphis in that 12 spot. But yeah, I have no complaints on your list, Bill. If your list was how it came out, I would not complain at all. So I think there are 2 great lists. And Cottrell, I wish you were on the show to talk about your list. But if you want to throw in the chat who tell us who your 12th team is in the chat, who you think is going to be there come the college football playoff poll. But Bill, anything else about these polls before we kind of jump into previews for the week?
No, I mean, again, a lot of it. I think some of these are going to move a little bit. I mean, obviously, if Vanderbilt beats Texas today, I think they're going to get a little bit of a bump.
Yep.
The curious thing will be if Vanderbilt loses today, how far people in that room let them drop, and then obviously, I promise you, Texas will move up like 8 spots in the rankings, and they shouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
Beating Vanderbilt at home should not move you up 8 spots, but I promise you, Texas will be on the verge of almost breaking into the top 12 if they win that football game today.
The worst part is that's probably exactly what would happen.
So, again, we'll see. I mean, Tuesday night will be their baseline, and then we'll see how consistent they are the rest of the year with moving these teams up and down if they lose, because that was our biggest gripe last year. There was not a lot of consistency in the way things were done. There's definitely preferential treatment given to certain conferences. So,
Yeah.
the madness all starts Tuesday night. We start coming down the home stretch of the season. So, it'll be a lot of fun. I don't understand Cottrell's comment. Academy doesn't deserve respect. If Notre Dame, they don't play Notre Dame today, Cottrell. If Notre Dame beats them, then they're not going to be in my top 12, obviously.
Yeah. I think Cottrell has gone on to more important things.
I think Cottrell's taking some audience drugs.
Hey, man, give me an epidural right
That's
now.
what I'm saying.
Sign me up. All right. Week 10, games of the week. So, yes, like I said, we talked about this earlier. There was a lot of games earlier in the season that made this week look like the week of college football to watch.
Yep.
But unfortunately, the games have been played before this, and the rankings are not what they used to be. Obviously, some people are probably looking at this like, why are you guys previewing Ohio State, Penn State? Because it's a huge matchup. Noon kickoffs going there. Despite what Penn State's record is in their free fall this season, there's still a huge matchup, Penn State, Ohio State. So we got to put that on there. Texas, Vanderbilt, Bill just mentioned. We have a Big 12 matchup that's going to actually, help kind of determine the Big 12 standings in that Big 12 championship game. And we got Utah in surprisingly ranked Cincinnati team. Then you got Oklahoma, Tennessee. Honestly, I would say 2 of these games are going to be for some of these teams' seasons. I think that Cincinnati-Utah game is for the season for both those teams. And I think that Tennessee-Oklahoma is 100% going to determine both of their seasons, because either of those teams loses, and you could kiss their college football playoff hopes goodbye. So, Bill, where do you want to start?
We're going to start in the lower left-hand corner here because, unfortunately, this game is what it is. This is a game that most people look forward to every year, because it's usually a big game. It's usually a game that matters. It's usually a game that means something. And it's definitely more fun usually when it's at Penn State, with a whiteout. But that being said, the situation is what it is this year. Ohio State's number 1. Penn State has fired their coach, lost their starting quarterback, and they are just they're just not what everybody thought they were going to be. I'll just keep this simple. With a backup quarterback playing against that secondary right now, unless something drastic happens with the run game, and I'm not taking anything away from K-Tron Allen or anything, but excuse me. I don't know how Penn State keeps this game close. I just don't. Ohio State's just better everywhere. They're just a better football team. And that would have been the case even if Drew Aller was playing. I mean, you might be able to give a slight edge at quarterback at that point because Julian Saint's so young. But I don't know how Penn State's going to move the ball consistently. I think Ohio State's defense is going to get off the field easily a lot. And Penn State's defense is really good. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a house of horrors. Jim Knowles rolling back into the horseshoe today. I think Ohio State wins big.
Yeah, this game, like I say, if Penn State has any chance in this game, they need to get the rushing attack starting early, and they need both running backs to have success, not just one of them. He said, was it 2 weeks ago? They played Iowa. They had a bye last week. So 2 weeks they lost to Iowa 25-24. Katron Allen had 28 carries. Now, I didn't watch the game, Bill, so maybe you can probably correct me on this. Did Nick Singleton get hurt in that game against Iowa? Because he only had 6 carries for 15 yards. And I was trying to determine if that was an injury-related thing or if Katron was just the better running back. Because Katron had definitely been having a better season than Nick Singleton, but they both need to get going on the ground today and control the time of possession. And this is the game. If Ethan Grunkemeyer was ever to make a name for himself for that Penn State and to kind of solidify himself in the future of that program, today is the day to play out of your head and make things happen. I just unfortunately don't think that's gonna be what happens today. Penn State or Iowa was able to run all over Penn State's defense, 33 carries, 245 yards, 7.4 yards per carry against this Penn State defense that honestly looked like one of the best defenses in the country just a month and a half ago when they played Oregon. So this Penn State team is completely spiraled out of control. And this game, like I said, is big as far as the programs involved, but the team and the skill levels involved in this game are not quite there. I think Ohio State takes care of business pretty easily, but I do think Penn State puts up a fight in the first half. I think at halftime, we might be in the group chat with making some eyes at Cottrell, like, you watching this game, bro? Because Penn State's doing something. And then the second half, I think Ryan Day and company make adjustments and take care of business. So that's my prediction on that game. Where to next, Bill? I don't want to take too much time on it.
Nah, we're going to go up top. We'll go to Cincinnati, Utah. To your point that you brought up earlier, I think this is an elimination game. BYU is firmly kind of, not BYU, sorry. BYU.
Yeah,
BYU is firmly, in the driver's seat right now. Texas Tech is right behind them. You're not going to be able to afford a second loss right now. Utah's kind of hung on all year. I feel like every game Utah plays almost is home. They're going to go on the road to Cincinnati. I will tell you this. I think Cincinnati is getting a lot of like Big 12 love. I don't think they're the 17th best team in the country. I think that's I don't see that. I think if you put them up on a neutral field against a lot of these teams, they're losing. But that being said, they're home, a big game. Utah is definitely one of those teams that's different, between home and away, and it's a night and day difference. I think Cincinnati will take care of business at home. I think it's a close game.
They're in Utah, Bill.
Oh, they are in Utah?
They are in Utah. Utah's a 10.5-point favorite in this game.
I thought the home teams were always on the left.
No, home teams are on the right. I just messed up the Ohio State Penn State one.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, the rest of them are right. Texas is the home team. Tennessee's the home team. Just the bottom left, I messed up. Yeah, that's my bad. I misled you. I apologize. But yes, Utah, all the teams on the right are home minus Penn State, Ohio State. But yeah, so Utah, they are playing at home today. So it's going to change your whole outlook.
That changes things for me.
Changes everything. I totally agree.
I think Utah will probably pull out a close game at home now.
10.5 points is crazy.
That's a lot. I mean, and in Cincinnati's defense, they are playing well. Like I said, I don't think they're the 17th best team in the country, but they are playing good football. Weather will probably factor a little bit here. I'm sure it's cold in Utah already. What time is this game?
Nighttime kickoff, so 10:15 your time.
Utah for me in a close game.
See, here's the thing, man. When I look at this game, I look at, and we've talked about this so many times, especially from you, Bill, Utah's strength at home. They are just playing in Utah is a totally different ball game. You could put the number one team in the country at that stadium, and Utah would find a way to make it a close game, and that crowd would make a difference. And this is a major test for Cincinnati. Cincinnati has momentum, though. They're still, but they really still haven't been tested with an elite defense. Now, saying Utah is elite, but Utah is probably one of the better defenses Cincinnati's played all year. So I think that's going to cause a little bit of a close game in the first half. I do think, though, that I really like Cincinnati's quarterback, Brendan Sorsby. Dude is an absolute monster, just under 2,000 yards receiving and throwing. And this is my favorite stat I've said today. Brandon Sorsby has 20 passing touchdowns and only 1 interception this year. This man takes care of the football, does not turn the ball over, and that's exactly what you need to do to win close games. He's been Cincinnati's starting quarterback the last couple of years. He had 7 interceptions last year, only 18 touchdowns. He's already passed those numbers this year. I think Cincinnati is is absolutely having a fantastic season, 7-1. I think they kind of control their own destiny in the Big 12. And I think Cincinnati not only covers the huge, monstrous spread of 10. I know, Bill, we're making up words today. I think that they take care of that. I think they cover that 10.5-point spread pretty easily. But I also think Cincinnati goes into Utah, and I'm 0-3 picking against Utah when they're at home. But today I'm going to be 1-4 because I'm picking Cincinnati Bearcats, baby. Bearcats are going to bear down, take care of business against Utah. Devin Dampier, I was high on him early in the year. Still a fantastic talent. His consistency has not been where he needs to be, and defenses have been figuring out how to play against his mobility. So I do think Cincinnati pulls out this win today. Not only covers the 10.5 points, but wins.
All right.
I know.
We'll stay top. We'll stay top right. Oklahoma travels to Knoxville, Tennessee to play the Volunteers. Again, this is another elimination game.
Yeah.
Especially, Tennessee's got what, 1 loss?
Tennessee has 2 losses.
Oh, no. All right, so this is a true elimination game. Loser of this is done. They're gonna have 2 SEC losses, which would eliminate them there. And I don't see how they would get back into the top 12 with 3 losses with all the teams that are in front of them. Oklahoma, we talked about, start off the year as hot as anyone. John Mateer, unfortunate injury. This will be his 3rd game back. He's looked better, but you can still tell it's bothering him. He just doesn't throw the ball as sharp as he was before the injury. And then Tennessee at home, Joey Aguilar and company. A little bit of inconsistency from week to week. I think the offense looks great certain weeks. Other weeks it struggles to get going. Defense the same way. Defense certain weeks looks very strong. Tackle really well. They keep everything in front of them. And then other weeks they're getting burned over the top. So this is a really interesting game because, like I said, I think the loser of this, I think their big goals for the year are done. You can throw them out the window. I'm going to lean Tennessee at home. I think a lot of people have figured out how to attack that Oklahoma defense. Neyland Stadium, 4,000 plus is going to be rocking. And I think Oklahoma, their struggles, and I think they're starting to be what a lot of people thought they were going to be this year, as a team in regards to, still kind of being a year away. And I think they're going to be a better team next year, but they're just starting to show cracks all over the place. And I think if Tennessee can get the running game going and let Joey Aguilar, play within the pocket, run off play action, I think they can cause a lot of fits for the Sooners. So I will go Tennessee, a close one at home.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee 2.5-point favorites. John Mateer is still kind of coming back from his injury. John Mateer has hot of a start as he had to the beginning of the year. Obviously, that injury kind of derailed him. He is turnover prone. And that's what kind of worries me about Oklahoma is Oklahoma's defense has had its woes. Obviously, they have tackling issues. They have a few issues that they need to kind of right the ship on from that they had success in earlier in the year. But to me, this game starts and ends with the quarterbacks, Joey Aguilar, John Mateer. And John Mateer has the ability to win this game for Oklahoma. I worry about that hand. Obviously, a few weeks ago, we talked about whether he should or should not play against Texas. And look at this. 3 weeks later, they're up for elimination. And my argument was that he needs to play because every game matters. And this, like I said, this kind of shows why. You still have 4 games left after this one, and this is for your season. I think John Mateer absolutely goes out and handles business. I don't think he has a huge passing day. I think he's under 200 yards passing, but I bet they take off the leash off John Mateer today, and they say, go play John Mateer football. I think he has over 100 rushing yards today, and that's what's going to make the difference in this game. But here's my only thing here's a little caveat for you. If Oklahoma loses this game, John Mateer will come back for his senior year at Oklahoma. I think if Oklahoma finds a way to win this game, I think it's still 50-50. But I think if Oklahoma loses, he 110% comes back next year. He has not had the season that you'd want to have going into a draft. You need to kind of finish out this year with, I don't know, you have a tough schedule up ahead. Obviously, LSU is not the team that we thought they would be that's on the schedule. But this game kind of will launch them into how they finish the season. And like we said earlier, this is for their college football playoff hopes. And John Mateer is a gamer. You put the ball in your gamers' hands and you let them determine the outcome. And I think that Oklahoma wins this game on the road in a tough environment. I think Oklahoma's defense understands what's at stake today. I think that you're not going to see any one-on-one tackling besides obviously on the outsides when it happens, but I think you're going to see a lot of gang tackling, linebackers getting to the ball, secondary coming up and helping stop the run for Tennessee when they do run the ball. And I think that they're going to drop some back and see what Joey Aguilar can do to beat them deep. So I think Oklahoma does take care of business in this game. This is a must win for both teams, but I trust John Mateer and his playmaking ability over Joey Aguilar, so I'm picking Oklahoma.
All right. I like it.
I like it too.
Last but not least, going down to Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
Texas Longhorns and the Vanderbilt Cows.
We talked about Vanderbilt so much this year. It's just so weird.
I know. Big game. This for me boils down to it. Listen, I think Arch Manning is going to play. I think the 2.5 point spread, I think, is also indicative of Texas just not quite being the team everybody thought they were at the beginning of the year. I think the Ohio State game gave a lot of people, I think, false hope about Texas. I think they were like, hey, Ohio State might have the best defense in the country on the road week one. Arch is really like kind of first true start on the road, hostile environment. They'll figure it out after this and get a lot better. That hasn't happened at all. They have another loss. They just came back from like
it took overtime. It took them to overtime to win last week. Oh God.
Was it Mississippi State?
I believe it was. It was someone. Yeah, it was someone like that. I'll tell you right now. It was Mississippi State, 45-38 overtime.
And I will tell you, I watched a decent part of this game. Arch played pretty well, but I mean, Mississippi State was dominating this game for a long time. And then Arch got hurt. Their backup comes in and throws an absolute dime to the corner of the end zone. Receiver makes a great catch. Everything that had to go right in the last 8 minutes of this game for Texas to win, it went right. You would think they would learn from that. Again, I think Mississippi State is another team. While they're not great, they're improved this year, and they've played everybody hard this year. And they have a couple mini upset wins already. You have Vanderbilt team coming in. The one thing that's great that I will praise Vanderbilt on is they don't beat themselves. I don't think it's a team that's going to have 3 turnovers and hand the ball to Texas all day. I don't see that happening. My biggest concern is, does Vanderbilt have the variety and the weapons to get downfield to kind of stretch Texas out and get them away from just sending 5 after Pavia every snap? And I don't know if they do, or if they're going to be able to show it enough to get Texas to kind of come back out and do a base defense and kind of play normal. That's my concern. I think Vanderbilt's defense will hold up. Again, Texas's offense has been nothing to write home about for the majority of the year. But with Arch playing at home, I think Texas, maybe they would kick a walk-off field goal. I think Texas squeaks one out to keep their season alive. And again, not by any means is the season over for Vanderbilt at that point. So, but I like Texas at home by very, very little margin to win this game today.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how for the Oklahoma-Tennessee game, it was a must-win for both of those teams. In this game, Texas, it's a Texas whose season is on the line. Like Vanderbilt, not saying they want to lose this game, of course, but they could lose this game and still have that chance to get into the college football playoff. If Texas loses, their season essentially is done, especially with who they have left on the schedule. Because I know they have Georgia, I know they have A&M on the schedule. So this is essentially a must-win game for Texas. Arch is obviously going to be playing today. Yeah. So they have Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M on the schedule the rest of the way. So this is a must-win game for them. Arch Manning has got through concussion protocol, practice this week, ready to play. But Texas really needs to get their ground game going. They're running for under 140 yards per game. They're ranked 90th in the country in that statistic. And Vanderbilt has a mean front seven. They have a fantastic against the run, fantastic defense against the run. And then for me, it's Arch Manning versus Diego Pavia. Diego has that swag right now. Arch doesn't seem the most confident on the field when he's making his throws. And obviously, I don't know if the sideline is really that confident in Arch Manning leading this Texas team to victory. But Vanderbilt they're on complete underdog mode the rest of the season. They have nothing to lose. They're going balls to the wall. Diego is going to go out and make every single play he can. Yes, they're playing at Texas, but I think this is that game where Vanderbilt went on the road earlier this year and lost to Alabama. Got kind of manhandled. I think it was like a 14-point game. This Texas team is not Bama. And I think Vanderbilt is going to be able to handle being on the road. They convert at just under 53% on third down conversions, and that's going to be a huge stat this game. I don't know if Texas's defense, as good as they are, I think Vanderbilt's still going to find ways to convert on third downs and continue drives. And I don't think Arch has shown me enough to where I think that if they get down 2 scores, that he can actually bring them back and lead them to victory. Like I said, last week when they went to overtime, the backup quarterback is what ultimately led them to victory. So I think that this is a must-win game for Texas. I think Texas does find a way to pull this out because that Texas defense is nasty. We saw what they did against Ohio State earlier in the year. We talked about, Ohio State's offense doesn't look like anything much after that first game against Texas. And since then, we've seen what Ohio State's offense is. So it really speaks volumes to how well Texas defense can play. I think that they need to eliminate those third down conversions, force third and longs against Vanderbilt. And I think Texas finds a way to win this game and continue with their distant hopes of the college football playoff berth. But I would not be surprised if Vanderbilt walked out of this game against Texas as the victors. God, I can't talk today.
I would love if Vanderbilt goes into Austin and wins. Again, that for all intents and purposes would end Texas's season. I think it puts a lot of heat on Steve Sarkisian.
Shoot, he's already announced he'd be interested in an NFL job. Like that is ballsy. Like it's one thing of like, oh, your season's pretty much done, or like your contract's coming up, for you to come out in the middle of the season and be like, just so everyone knows, I'm down to go to the NFL if they come calling. Like that is crazy. Like I don't know.
It is crazy. I think it's, with it being the NFL, it's one of those things where people go, well, if he goes to the NFL, like, can't really be mad. You know what I mean? And I think that is.
Shoot, he even mentioned the job he's interested in. He even mentioned that he'd be down to coach Tennessee, the freaking Titans. Like, are you like that? Sounds to me like he's making his pitch. Like, hey, yo, Tennessee, y'all don't work out this year. Give me a call. I'm down. Like, I don't know. If I'm a recruit, I'm looking at that like, well, that guy doesn't seem like he's going to be there for the future. So why am I going to commit to Texas? But that's a side topic. I think that's all the recaps, Bill, or all the previews, Bill. I think we're ready for Pick'em and the Mountain.
Pick'em and the Mountain.
Mountain and the Pick'em. Let's take a look at the Mountain. I think you will be happy with the Mountain today, Bill. I worked hard on it. Okay, I worked hard. I think it's good. I think it's better. It's by ranking now. So, Missouri, Oklahoma, both in the helicopter, fighting for their life, fighting for their seasons. Probably should have put Texas. We got Tennessee, Texas Tech, and Virginia all making their way to base camp, waiting to make their path on the way up to the Mountain. LSU, Kansas State, Penn State, Florida State, all the states, they've their seasons have ended. I should have put Oregon State on there just for gigs. Maybe next week we'll add Oregon State on there just for giggles. But no, this is the mountain as we stand. I think it's I think the college football playoff is starting to shape itself out. I should have put Navy on there. If they win today against North Texas, I'll make sure to add Navy on for next week.
Yeah, I mean, they will definitely be ranked. It'll be interesting to see. They can pull off the North Texas game. Like I said, between them and Memphis, it gets real interesting until they play. Because I don't think, like I said, I just don't think they'll bury Navy for losing to Notre Dame. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
If they lose by 50, they probably would.
Yeah, which could happen because I don't know.
17 points, I think they're safe.
I don't know if anybody on Navy can tackle Jeremiah Love, so it could be interesting.
That's a good point. But this is the mountain, Eliminator Mountain, as we call it. It's starting to make shape a little more. Less teams are involved, and I'm excited to see what it looks like next week. But, Bill, I'm ready for Pick'em. I do not have graphics for our Pick'em records, as I'm not sure what they are. But that's okay. Cottrell's got a running total. He can fill us in next week if he's back.
Yeah, that's fine. I will go first real quick because I gave mine on Wednesday. Some of the games we already talked about. Ohio State minus 20.5. Again, I just don't see how Penn State keeps it close. I know it's a rivalry game. I could see it being close for a quarter or so. I just think Ohio State's better all around, on every side of the ball and everything else. So I think they pull away at home. I'm actually taking Michigan minus 20.5 at home against Purdue. They've been night and day, home and away. They're home at night again. Purdue has struggled mightily to stop the run. And that's what Michigan's going to do. They're getting a little bit healthy on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's just running down Purdue's throat all night long. I think Michigan big. Last but not least, we talked about this game as well. I got Texas minus 2.5 against Vanderbilt. I think they just eke one out. I would love to be wrong on that game, though. Love to get that game wrong. I would gladly take 2-1 and have that game be wrong for Texas to be eliminated. Last but not least, just because it's the biggest number on the board, I don't think Boston College has any chance to win the football game. But Notre Dame traveling up to Boston, 20.5 point spread, 4 touchdowns. That's a lot. I think Boston College has at least some kind of pride. I will take Boston College or plus 28.5 for my Superdog. I know Cottrell had them as well, and I can't remember his other picks. I want to say I can't remember. I can't remember his other picks.
That's
but
okay.
I know he had Boston College for Superdog though.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. I'm sure, like I said, we can always review Wednesday if we need to. But time for me to give my picks, which are the best picks in college football, and then we will let you folks go watch some college football today. But I'm going to start off. The last 2 weeks, I have chose this team once as Superdog and once as just a regular pick'em, and both times I'm 2-0 when picking them. So today I'm going to continue that train. Washington State minus 3.5 against Oregon State on the road. Washington State has been playing some great football against some fantastic teams the last few weeks, including Ole Miss a few weeks ago, where they almost added the first L to Ole Miss's schedule. Oregon State is an absolute SHIT show. Even on the road, Washington State's going to take care of business. Remember, they play each other twice this year, at home and home. Both those teams play, so they'll play again later in the season. So Washington State, though, takes care of business on the road, minus 3.5. Oregon State just fired the coach. The whole program's in disarray. I expect there to be more Washington State fans at the game than Oregon State fans. Let's just say that. Next up, Arizona minus 4.5 versus Colorado. I think Arizona's passing game is starting to kind of get under, get on the right track, and I think Arizona takes care of business. I do think that the Colorado team has been playing fantastic lately, especially with Dion missing some coaching opportunities due to his illness or due to his health. But I think Arizona takes care of business, minus 4.5 against Colorado. Then we're going to stay with a team in the top 10. We've mentioned them a couple times today. That's Georgia Tech -4.5 versus NC State. Georgia Tech is the cream of the crop, and the cream always rises to the top, baby. And Georgia Tech's going to take care of business. I think this is a 10-point game. I think this game is never in question. Honestly, that's the best line of the day that I found. And then for Superdog, I was thinking Penn State, and then I was like literally mid-show, I was going to pick Penn State here. And then I thought about it, and then we previewed it, and then I really looked into it, and I was like, that's a real bad decision. So we're going to go over to the WAC on the West Coast, and we're going to ride with the Bulldogs of Fresno State to stay within 17.5 points of Boise State on the road. That's a tough place to go into and play, but Fresno State's 5-2 record. They've been able to compete with every single team this year. They've been in the game on both their losses, and I think that Boise State is going to beat their match today. And I think Fresno State maybe doesn't win, but they definitely cover that at 17.5 point spread for my Superdog.
Nice.
That's it.
We almost finished on time.
I know. We did pretty good. See, I told you, no Cottrell, no problem.
I know, right?
He's not even here to defend himself in the chat, though. So
no. But that is it. That is it for this week. Everybody go enjoy the games. It should be a great Saturday worth of football, even though it wasn't going to be the, maybe best week ever like we thought it was 2 months ago. Still a lot of great games. Enjoy your Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. Cottrell, Audia. Guess keep pushing. Good luck.
Keep pushing.
But we're looking forward to hearing the good news as soon as possible. So everybody else, we will see you next Saturday. Thanks.
See you next week.